It's time to talk with Jay Foss.
Thanks so much for calling in. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you too, Jay Foss.
The magic happens when you have the right person in the right place at the right time.
If we're having fun, everyone else is going to have fun naturally.
Keep it local radio.
I'm obsessed with transformations on this show. And so I guess that in this case, you are that paradigm shift. You are the thing that transforms people. That's what people call me.
Want to connect with Jay? Dial in.
But then the question is everyone tuned into the right frequency?
Are you tuned in?
Making our corner of the world a little brighter.
Did you make the right decision here? Like, are you, did you bite off more than you can chew?
In figuring out what makes people tick whenever we start something new.
Yeah.
There's always that question of
raising your inner voice.
Wait, was this too much? Did I start hiking a mountain that's a little too high for my level of experience?
With Jay Foss.
It's a quote by Thoreau. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it.
Not just another talk show.
We cover all things that make us human.
It's time to be heard.
How can my values and how can these inner thoughts that I have help me be a more whole human being?
Online and on air.
We can't legislate being a good, decent human being. So what can we do? We can become more active in this community.
Raising your inner voice with Jay Foss.
Hey, party people. Welcome back to Raising Your Inner Voice. This show every Sunday evening where we do some deep dives into your being, the core of your essence. And we take this time to figure out what makes you tick. What is it that sets you apart? How is it that so far your lived experience and all the things that factor into making you, how do you bring that forward and live perhaps an intentional life? And that's actually what the topic for this evening is. It's about intentionally integrating yourself. What do I mean by integration? Well, it's about returning to a rhythm, returning to your youth, if you will, a return to your truth, and taking all that inner knowing that you have and applying that to your outer life. That's the gist of the show, and that's what we do here on Raising Your Inner Voice. Would love to have you join the conversation if you feel so led, or would love to have any feedback from you regarding this topic or any of the topics that we cover here on Raising Your Inner Voice. It's a combination of doing deep dives like this on intentional topics, and I love it when we have guests on where we do deep dives. Either way, I guess it's a deep dive. You don't mind the deep dives, do you? Or we have a guest on where we do intentional conversations with a selected perspective that I bring on the show. Yeah, so what do you think about this intentional integration, returning to the rhythm of your life? Because with integration, it's about finding that balance, right? It's about making sure we're not too lopsided. Right now, it's the date of this show is in August. And, you know, August time, summer is still happening, but it's beginning to wind down. Perhaps people aren't fully back in their rhythms of the school year, fully back in their rhythms of the work year, fully back into the rhythms of your life come the fall, winter, and spring months, because summer is a good time to detach and get away from that. But how can we take the time to reintegrate ourselves as we're preparing for the fall? Though it really works for any season, whether a literal season of the year or a season of your life, it's always good to integrate and reconnect with yourself. Make sure you're not getting carried away with too much of a good thing like the summertime. But paying attention to the seasons in our life is a necessary thing to do, and I encourage you to do it towards the balance that you're seeking and hopefully even finding as you are integrating this approach. And of course, being intentional about it is a key component as well. So let's go ahead and break this down. Intentional integration. The first part, being intentional about it, it means to do something with a desired mindset or outcome. And maybe outcome is the wrong word, but if you're doing something intentionally, you're doing it with focus, right? You're doing it with a plan. And then integration is all about bringing separate things together so that they work as a unified whole. And on the show, we've covered many, many aspects of being balanced, right? And how we can be balanced as full, whole human beings, because that's what we are, each of us, individually and even corporately. The more of us who are full human beings, full people individually, the more of us together will be working together corporately. Not in like a mind or a brainwashing sense, but more in the sense that the more adults there are in the room, the more easily we can play as adults and not cause harm to each other in addition to ourselves. And I think incorporating the communal aspect is really important because so often our lives get fragmented, right? So we only end up hanging out with people that think like we think, and people who do the things that we do, and people who it's a smaller existence, as opposed to bumping into and running into people that have different perspectives than us. And that's why, I love bringing on guests on this show because of that exact reason, because I don't think like a lot of people think. A lot of people don't think the way that I think. So in hearing from them, in listening to them, I'm able to expand and grow not only my perspective, but my understanding. And I don't think I have as many opportunities nowadays to run into those people with differing views, right? Because so often we try to be polite. We don't want to ruffle feathers, so we don't get into conversations where we're able to understand people across the board. And I think that having these conversations with an open mind, not from like a defensive stance, but just being open and honest ourselves. We don't have all the answers. I have thoughts on certain things. I have belief systems around certain things, but that's all they are. They're belief systems, right? They're things that evolve and change as we grow and learn new things. So I don't know why we need to get so adamant that our view, our perspective is the right way. But it seems like that's what we all do, right? All of us. That's not something I don't think that's unique to me. I think that many of us get caught into this just defensive mode. That our way is the right way. And I'm not making everything relative by viewing life this way. I think that I'm actually making life fuller by viewing that, there are other perspectives than the ones that I hold and adhere to. And those can inform me. I can incorporate aspects of those. I may not need to completely change my life, my mindset, where I live, but I can certainly integrate them. I can add them to my own understanding. Welcoming different views into the belief system that I have. And it starts with me. It starts with you. So if there are parts of us that we are denying or just not aligning into our essence, whether they're thoughts, emotions, actions, a soulful response to life. We're not able to be authentic and whole in the way that we are expressing ourselves. So that's why I think intentionally integrating is a topic worth pursuing on this fine Sunday evening for you. Would love to get your perspective. Feel free to call in. Feel free to shoot me a message. You know what? Feel free to just not do that as well. Just be, right? Focus on your breath. Focus on yourself. And when the time is right, I would love to have you participate intentionally. I don't just want you willy-nilly adding to the conversation. Do it intentionally.
Stay with us as we continue raising your inner voice with Jay Foss.
If you have any issues, topics, or voices that you think would be great to be heard on this show, please reach out, jay.foss@me.com. If you want to add your voice to the conversation, record a voice memo and email it to me, or tune in live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m.
How's your 401k? I'm Luke Noble of Noble Financial Group. As a certified financial planner, I know you can't plan for everything, but we can prepare you for life's twists and turns. We'll make a plan to help your money last through your retirement years. Our team is dedicated to helping you achieve your financial goals. Let us help. Visit noblefinancialgroupllc.com.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through MML Investor Services. Member SIPC. Noble Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of MML Investor Services.
Making our corner of the world a little brighter, online and on air. Raising your inner voice with Jay Foss.
And welcome back to the program, the show this evening. We're talking all about intentionally integrating different aspects of our lives together into a more whole being. I love the rejoiner there, making the world, my corner of the world, a little bit brighter. I think that that's what we can do with intentionally integrating ourselves. But it's not just ourselves, right? I mean, there's communal things that we can intentionally integrate. There's work, certainly, is a communal aspect of that. Schools for our kids, schools for ourselves. Maybe you're still in school. If you are, kudos to you. Kudos to you, I say, because I think formal learning is so different than just learning like I'm learning through lived experiences. But yeah, I mean, there's personal life integration that we can do. Anything from finding a better work-life balance, right? So maybe it's your career and family, or health and hobbies that seem to have constant conflict. But in fact, you can integrate those areas of your life. Maybe it's something tragic, like experiencing the loss of a loved one. And how do you incorporate their existence, their being, into your life now that you don't have them here physically anymore? I mean, these are heavy, heady conversations, but I think ones that they're good to reflect on. And yeah, I mean, there's so many different avenues, right? So many different things in life that we can focus on. So I think that's where it comes back to the intentionality, being intentional about how you're integrating different aspects in your life. You don't need to just pick up everything and absorb it all into being this great superhuman right away. In fact, it's probably the opposite works better. Integrating one part at a time. And that's including different pieces coming together in harmony instead of staying separate. Or otherwise, you could say in conflict with each other. So whether if you're the type of person who you know that your emotions get carried away, that they run how you exist, then maybe you should stew on things and think through things a little bit more. Get into your body a little bit more, right? Don't just go with what your gut says and how you feel about it. I don't know, write out a list of pros and cons. That's always been helpful to me. It doesn't always give me the answer I want, but it does help clarify, what are some positives, what are some negatives. We all know that everything in life is a trade-off. You're gonna get some pros and cons with any ways of integrating that you're thinking about doing, whether it's changing jobs, whether it's pursuing a romantic relationship. Though I will say, if you're doing pros and cons about a romantic relationship, that would lead me to give heed to some hesitation, because if there are red flags and warning signs up early that there is more or a significant amount of cons, then it might not be worth pursuing. It's funny how I say that about personal relationships more than a job necessarily, though I guess there could be equal. If there are cons and a significant amount of cons regarding a new job that you're thinking about, I guess that in and of itself, that in and of itself could be a bit of a warning sign for you. Or maybe there's like a new workout routine that you're trying out or want to try out. What are the things there that obviously the pros would become, you would become more fit. Fit, baby. But cons might be how tired or not tired you are for the rest of your family and the rest of your life. Obvious expenses, both of time and finances. Maybe you can do it at home solution. So many things to touch on. I love this element of raising your inner voice because I feel like it touches on so many different things in life and is applicable to so many different areas in life. Recently, I was trying to explain the show to someone, and I said, it's kind of a general format talk show. We can talk to anyone about anything. I mean, it's not honed in on certain areas. Though personally, I'm a bit clueless when it comes to most sporting analogies in sports in and of themselves. But sports. But I think that the metaphors for sports still work together because individuals have their role to play and collectively teams have their role to play. So as far as an analogy goes, I'm with it. I think I get it. And I think it works for this topic for integration. And when we talk about integration, I mean, what's the opposite of integrating, right? And why would that be helpful in certain aspects of life? Well, the opposite of integration would be either fragmentation, exclusion, segregation, or disconnection, depending on the context. So when communities are divided, where groups don't interact or trust each other, are there benefits that can come out of that? I mean, the founders of our nation certainly thought so. That's why they had checks and balances in order. It's funny, thinking about raising your inner voice, I feel like is a show. I'm curious how relevant this is for people in other cultures, not in the U.S. culture, because I don't know, and this is something I'm truly ignorant on that I'm curious about, is how relevant it is for people of other cultures. If you're in another culture or part of another culture, that you can find items and actions relatable to raising your inner voice. Would love to have you join the conversation. Shoot me an email. That's probably the best way of joining the conversation if you're in another time zone or something. jay.foss@me.com. And let me know what aspect is relevant, what aspect maybe is not relevant. I mean, I love getting and including the opposite of things. But yeah, focusing back on the opposite of integration, what are areas in your life where it's better to not have room for overlap or integration or balance? I mean, the fact earlier that I said that it might be better to choose one or two areas at a time, not to reintegrate your entire life, that in and of itself seems to be an area of separation, because I'm saying don't overhaul your life all at once. Pick one or two areas. So even in integration, in finding balance, I'm suggesting it with a degree of I don't want to say exclusion, but I'm suggesting it with a degree of being intentional. Pick or choose the one or two that you can intentionally focus on in life, and let that area be the area that you're working on. Now, even there, it's funny how, like for careers, when people talk about careers, I feel like there's one or maybe two approaches to areas that you can excel at. So some people, when looking at pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses, some people think that you should hone your weakness so that way you can become a better balanced and more well-rounded person, right? So if your strengths you're already good in, increase and work on your weaknesses to make yourself balanced. Other people suggest instead of focusing on your weaknesses, stay focused on your strengths and hone those abilities to really make sure that those are what are heightened in life for you, and then outsource anything else or hire other people, right? Get other loved ones to help you out with areas that you know are weaknesses for you. Surround yourself with people who their strengths make up for your weaknesses. Maybe that's a better way of putting it than just outsourcing. Oh, Jay, sometimes you say things that are a little wonky, but that's okay. It's one of my quirks. Hopefully, it's a quirk that you don't mind. So focusing back on the integration, I mean, even I'm thinking of like orchestras, right? Where different strengths complement each other. And that's kind of what a community is. A community is a sort of orchestra. The problem is, of course, when things are out of tune and when some instruments are taking solos when it's not their time for a solo. Wow, going deep on the metaphor on this one. So let me bring it back to the personal. With personal integration, a lot of us think of personal growth, right? So your mind, body, soul, emotions, connection, and how, I mean, even if you want to pick or choose one or two things that you're really good at, in order to be integrated as a whole person rather than split off and cut off from your emotions, or rather than cut off from your thoughts, or rather than cut off from your body, you want to integrate all of that so it's flowing smoothly. You can't exactly outsource parts of yourself. In fact, I mean, that's the whole point behind counseling, right? And more holistic forms of therapy are about bringing out areas in your life that perhaps you were shut down from, that you have been separated from, that you haven't been in touch with, and how to integrate those into your life again. I'm boggled. My mind is boggled that children, I feel like, in ways, are more advanced than many adults, because children just respond to life naturally. And even for those who have serious trauma, they respond with it being a response to serious trauma. It's like a natural response by and large. And only after we shut down parts of ourselves, only after we go on living a dysfunctional way, do we realize that we need to balance out opposites within our own lives. Many times before on the program, I've talked about non-dual thinking being appealing to me and intriguing to me. In many cultures, I feel like do naturally incorporate non-dual thinking. But in the West, we tend to keep dual thinking alive. And there's a time and a place for all of it, right? So there's a time and a place for dual thinking. And there's also a time and a place where it isn't so helpful and beneficial. And with this program on intentionally integrating aspects of your life, I think personal growth comes from integrating the opposite areas of our lives. So not necessarily choosing one and rejecting another, i.e. dual thinking, but rather holding opposites, strength and vulnerability, independence and connection, seriousness and play, being able to hold both of them together. And that's, I mean, grief is such a prime example for this, because I think we can grieve over the long haul and not judge ourselves for that, and be okay with times perhaps with sadness, in moments of play, and missing play in aspects of ourselves in regards to our loved one who may have passed, or loved ones who may have passed. Because this is the only life that we have. This is the only life that we lead. So incorporating all of these various elements into our lives, for me, is like a huge exhale. And it's not healing over the grief, but maybe it's accepting the grief. And in accepting grief or anything else in our lives, accepting that we're not in touch with our emotions, we're not as vulnerable as we could be, accepting that perhaps I'm an overthinker and thoughts are everything to me, and I make a big deal out of something that isn't necessarily as big of a deal as it seems to be. It's integration. And doing so intentionally. That's what we're at this week. Hoping that you find this show beneficial, that it's helping you with something. And if nothing else, know, my dear friend, you're not alone in figuring out this life that we have. This one life that we have. Though some people think it's numerous lives, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I only know that today is the day that I have. So let it be so. We're going to come back after this break with more on intentionally integrating your life. All of it. We'll be right back after this.
Want to connect with Jay? Dial in as we continue raising your inner voice.
Are you worried about the stock market, your 401k, or rising costs? Hi, I'm Luke Noble of Noble Financial Group. As a certified financial planner, I know you can't plan for everything, but our dedicated team of professionals can better prepare you so your money lasts as long as you do. Let us help. Visit NobleFinancialGroupLLC.com.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through MML Investor Services. Member SIPC. Noble Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of MML Investor Services.
Hi folks, Paul from Gentilly Brewing. Have you been to our tap room in Beverly, Massachusetts yet? No? What? Oh, come on. All of our beer is gluten reduced and we make our own hard seltzer cocktails and shandies. And we are dog and family friendly. Always. Our tap room is more than just beer. Pack up the kids and the dogs and come to 59 Park Street and see it for yourself. Or leave them at home. You'll be back. For upcoming events, hours, and to see our current beer list, visit GentillyBrewing.com. That's GENTILE Brewing.com to plan your visit.
What does living a better life mean? And what's your process in figuring that out? If you want to join in the conversation live, tune in Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you want to gather your thoughts first, record a voice memo and email it to jay.foss@me.com because I would love to have your voice in this conversation. If you think someone else might need a conversation like this one, then let them know to get involved.
Not just another talk show. It's time to be heard. Online and on air. Raising your inner voice with Jay Foss.
And welcome back to Raising Your Inner Voice. And we're doing that this evening as we talk about intentionally integrating different aspects of your life, moving towards a balanced and more whole existence. Because I think it's some, I mean, we're all, it's a bit of a silly concept because we are all whole people. So in that we're whole people, how do we not further segment our own lives? How do we not segment different aspects of our community, but rather continue to move towards a full existence? One area, of course, seeking professional help is one way of doing that. But so many of us don't have access to perhaps professional help. So some ways that you can do this for yourself, or maybe while you're waiting for professional help, right? Do you? I was going to say, you know the areas of your life that you need to incorporate better, which might be true. It's partially true. We know ourselves, but we don't know things that we don't know. So maybe one area has to do with having an honest conversation with ourselves. And if you feel like you've had the honest conversation with yourself and you're still not sure what you need to integrate, maybe sharing about your whole self with someone that you trust, which includes the positives about dreams, right? Aspirations that you have, and the negatives. And I mean that not in the sense that it's a negative against you, but something like fears and doubts, things that we call negative. bringing light through honest conversations about all of those things would be one way of doing it. I know journaling for a lot of people helps them integrate different aspects of their lives because they're able to put down on paper things that otherwise they don't trust others to hear about themselves. So putting it down on paper, some people even suggest burning the paper afterwards. Some people suggest writing letters to others that you need to get off your chest. You can certainly write down situations where you felt like you were conflicted. Or perhaps instead of choosing one side, ask, how can I honor both parts of me? Because our intentional goal with journaling isn't just to get thoughts out. It's to help integrate opposing needs that are going unmet within ourselves. Another area would be with shadow work, right? And I feel like this gets to some of the professional help side of things, because you can notice traits in other people that trigger you. And often those traits are unintegrated parts of ourselves. So maybe if, for example, you dislike someone else's arrogance, it might be that you're avoiding your own need for confidence. Figuring out how you could integrate a healthier version of that trait that triggers you in other people. Or making sure that your mind-body connection is working, right? I mean, earlier I talked about getting into shape physically, getting physically fit, and that certainly is a way of connecting your mind and body. So, right, yoga is probably more popular now than it ever has been. Or even just doing some mindful walks. That personally, that's more appealing to me. Mindful walking, where you can, instead of living in your head, you can actually reconnect with your full body and your full self, and quieting yourself down some to notice others. You can also delve into a creative expression. I have one of my sisters is very, very creative and artistic. And I mean, art, music, dance, or writing, it's all in the creative realm, that you're using a certain side of your brain to release that creativity. Finally, I would suggest a daily reflection. So at the end of the day, ask yourself, what parts of me showed up today? What parts did I hide or ignore? And how can I bring them together in the day ahead when I wake up? Because the goal at the end of the day, well, I guess one of the basic goals is to wake up. But we don't have complete control over that one. So I'm going to skip over the waking up. The next goal is to wake up as a balanced person who's in touch with my thoughts, who's in touch with my emotions, who's in touch with my soul, and who's in touch with my body. Making sure that all of them are flowing together in a fully connected ecosystem. I'm an ecosystem. I hope you are too. That's ridiculous. Just utterly ridiculous. People are not ecosystems, though to some degree, I guess you could say we are. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, hopefully these practices, adding them, because you're only responsible for you. When all is said and done, you're only responsible for you. Hopefully these practices will create more self-acceptance, balance, and authenticity. And not just authenticity for authenticity's sake. But, or rather, authenticity, so that way you can just accept yourself and be yourself. I'll be me, you be you, and together we'll become something else entirely. And that's our community. Our community is our shared values. And I know a lot of people can look around and say, oh, this isn't my community anymore. My values aren't what's being on display here. Well, then I think it's up to us to get more involved in our community to make sure that it is a reflection of what we value. Because whether or not you agree with it, you are still complicit to it. And I think that one way of addressing this is through intentionally integrating yourself. I want to take a moment to preview what's coming up. I think next week or the following week, I'm going to be talking with a Reiki practitioner who provides Reiki for animals, pets, horses and dogs and things like that. She's going to come on the show. We're going to talk all about why pets might need Reiki, what that process is like, how it differs from Reiki from people. And yeah, I hope you check it out. It's going to be a good interview. And these interviews that I do with people, I mean, you might be saying, Jay, if this show is about raising your inner voice, what on earth does that have to do with Reiki for animals? Well, as other beings, I mean, I've talked about how we're trying to make our corner of the world a little bit brighter. That includes all beings that we come across, right? All forms of beings, which for many people is in the form of pets or loved ones, not just loved people, but loved animals. Some people get into bird watching. Other people have pets. Other people are into the domestication of animals. I mean, yeah. I think animals are something that we can come across, whether it's wild animals that we're looking out the window at, or tamed animals that are right next to us on the couch. That doesn't matter so much. But have you heard of Reiki for animals before? I never have. So this came across my radar, and I wanted to bring it to you here on Raising Your Inner Voice. And it's a chance to listen and hear into why someone else, what makes them tick, why they're doing this thing, like providing Reiki for animals. I think we have a lot to learn there, not only in addressing perhaps areas that might need Reiki energy work in our own lives, but for our loved ones' lives as well. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, my dear friend and listener, I hope that you are able to intentionally integrate all aspects of your life. Hope the show was encouraging for you and that you got a lot from it. I think I say that phrase too much, but I hope that you do get a lot from it. That's why I do this. So please be kind and gentle with yourself and share that same grace with others.
If you're enjoying this podcast, please help spread the word about raising your inner voice. Join the conversation live. Email jay.foss@me.com to suggest ideas to explore. Also share this podcast with your friends. Let those who need conversations like this have a chance to check it out.
Then let them know to get involved.